して NEXT Astronomical Expo Let's bring it back Astronomical Expo and Flow 全開そして NEXT Astronomical Expo どこからこの話を始めよう誰にも話してない全てをこのまま二人でどこからこの話を始めよう誰にも話してない全てをこのまま二人で送り出そうぜ科学のコーンだけは透明のベビーキャラだのとなせともりだだけは透明のベビーキャラだのとなせCheck it out 誰に打ち明ければいい話ドラマのワンシーンみたいベビーキャラビもう先はない傷だらけの弱み目を向けて行こう未来みんなの歌には終わりは来ないそう信じてるから虚しさは気が止まらない昨日今日の話じゃないかも今ここで手放したらもう会うことできないから戻ってくるなとそう言われてもそんなそぶりもいい感じだと思ってるけれど追ってくる過去 Let's bring it back 二人の居場所 Now on never いくつもの Now on never メモリーを共に作りここまで来たのだろう Now on never 目を閉じて Now on never 乗り換えろ未来はこの手にあるから Follow me だけだけは透明なベビーキャラ Let's go だのとなせだってこんなだよ先の先見えてる SF ドマンスマシン It's all for you 君とおしゃべり like カーティス俺そんなアーティスティックアストロボーイアストロベルみんなの world まさに Expo そして NEXT Catch the future するために Let's go 明石真相何been so long で浸透幕開けるヒストリー So kiss me 好きと言わせるクール MC 常にファッショナブルレート月に着陸お忍びでデートチェックイン東京フライト1000俺たちなしでは始まりません手と手離さず The two of us 今では話もできずただ説明必要ない後悔してないから Come back home tonight another day まで待つことできないから Hey girl 今さら don't play that game 過去に背を向け Ain't no other way 言葉はいらねえ Now on never 思い出の Now on never 刻まれた心だからもう一度始めよう Now on never 無理じゃない Now on never 乗り換えぞ未来はこの手にあるから Follow me Astronomical ケミと M flow かける音全開カーステレオ初めて君を見た時のことを覚えてます狙ったのはそこやらこれも出るのよ What? キャットウォークで会いましょうそして We get personal なんて想像巡らしとこう一言で Beautiful Yeah 二人で空越えてこう Yeah そして星の滑走道世に送り出そうぜ科学のコーこの話を始めよう誰にも話してない全てを二人でよし要初めに巻き戻そうよ And flow chemistry yo you know what I'm saying it's the global astro alliance and we gon' take it home like this check it out watch me do this kinda like ha 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 follow me just go ha ha who's that lady that make you say whoa 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 follow me just say whoa whoa watch me do this kinda like ha 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 follow me just go ha 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 who's that lady that make you say whoa 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 follow me just say whoa whoaだけは透明なベビーキャラだのとなせともりだ Astronomical Expo and Flow 全開そして NEXT Astronomical Expo Let's bring it back Astronomical Expo and Flow 全開そして NEXT Astronomical Expo Astronomical Expo and Flow 全開そして NEXT Astronomical Expo Let's bring it back Astronomical Expo and Flow 全開そして NEXT Astronomical Expoどこからこの話を始めよう誰にも話してない全てをこのまま二人でどこからこの話を始めよう誰にも話してない全てをこのまま二人で送り出そうぜ科学のコー開ければいい話ドラマのワンシーンみたいベビーキャナビもう先はないいつだらけの弱み目を向けてゆこう未来みんなの歌には終わりは来ない
Alone. Co-commentating with me is going to be Snow. Hi. Yup. Maybe it's a good time to switch to the qualifiers result spreadsheet now.
And here we go.
Yup. I did tease that there are 4 players eliminated, only 4. And
Yeah, so at least
unfortunately, only 100 players finished a proper qualifiers run. So we will be not having a proper 128 players playoff week. Instead, we will be utilizing a structure similar to MWC 7K 2023 Super Bowl 24. We'll be having a round of 96 bracket. And we unfortunately have to bid farewell to 4 players.
including Adrian Laser.
No! He did not keep his promise.
Next year.
My
There's always
precious
next year.
Adrian Laser.
There's always next year.
Okay, but anyways, we have the 4 eliminated players. I do want to share my condolences to these 4 players, and we really hope that you will. We hope you will qualify next year. Surely, we await you on above the red line. So the 4 eliminated players are Gamer Chris, Jun Hujit, Adrian Laser, and Zilu, who has the 4 lowest seeds are below top 96. Overall, their performance shows clear struggle in all 8 stages. For example, Gamer Chris having all scores below 200 except for stage 2, which is the stage 2, stage 3, and stage 8.
We also
Or Jun Hujit, who struggled a lot with stage 6 having only 52,000 scree scores. Or Adrian Laser, who unfortunately did not qualify and seeded 98 with scores that clearly showed his efforts, but it was not enough.
his efforts were in vain.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. And Zylu barely did not make it with the total seed of 96.85 compared to Two Toasties total seed of 95.6, and that is also going to be our 96th seed player.
Yeah, I mean, you could kind of tell, but as we do kind of raise up from these lower seeds, you'll see the scores exponentially grow fast, and then you'll kind of just see them slow down. I mean, you could kind of see it already here.
Yeah. I think there are a lot of fluctuations among the lower seeds. Like I'm seeing some players who are very good at stage ice stages. Some are better at LN stages, but overall, I noticed that stage 2 has much higher scores compared to the other stages. Usually, the score there is higher by anywhere from 200,000 to maybe just a bit of 1,000. Some players do also have higher scores on other stages compared to stage 2. For example, Kakashima at seed 71 has 937192 at stage 2 and 946883 at stage 1. So, yeah, there are a lot of fluctuations among this lower seed range.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised about that. I see like some scores where stage 1 is a higher, I guess in this term, a lower seed, and then you have stage 2 and 3, which are just higher seeds. I think you kind of see that a little bit more the more up you go, but still, I would say that's a little bit surprising.
It's kind of funny to see the players struggling on the later stages, though, especially the LNs. Like stage 8 to stage 1 is like at least is like a mega big difference. I see up to like 500,000 score diffs. I guess LN density physical stuffs are just very score tanking for people who are not physically apt.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing too is we might see a lot of people, especially in the lower seeds, struggling with like stage 4, which maybe could have tanked their score a little bit. I mean, I kind of see that already happening in some areas, but you do also have those exceptions where stage 4 might be like their highest.
Indeed.
But yeah, we can go a lot more up to our top 32.
Middle seeds. Yeah. Yup. I might. Did we skip a few people?
Maybe like a few. I went up a little bit.
It's whatever, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, you'll all get the stats eventually, like after the stream.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Fortunately,
like 100 people. It's so hard to kind of just go over all of these without wasting too much time.
Yeah, and very surprisingly and delightfully, we have a pretty high score as we move up to the higher seeds. We see a lot more 900Ks. The lowest scores are usually like 800Ks or something. Although I do see a few much lower scores, like Z2A Seed 57's score on stage 8 being just 789670, or just the upper seeds Snow Snow Some Snow having 653844. And density is still such a big struggle for the mid-seed players.
Yeah, I also see number 8. I think for Seed 39, they got 8 on stage 6, which I believe is like the Alan Tech pick.
Stage 6 is actually the Rice wealth skill pick. It's like the Jack-based one.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so I think this player might be pretty good at these tech piece speed jacks. Though unfortunately, we do not have a dedicated jack pick for early rounds. So,
yeah.
Yeah, unfortunate.
Especially being a mid seed, I feel like that's also potentially something to maybe be a little worried about. Just because, like you said, we don't have these jack picks early on. And especially like placing really high on a pick like that one.
Yeah, it's pretty nice to see scores like 99602 like that, and Seed 32 BC1 seed nice 989857 on stage 1. So the competition is getting much more heated.
Yeah, honestly, I'm surprised that a 989 is top 10 on stage 1. I feel like, especially with just how players are growing nowadays and just how good everyone's like kind of getting and how much everyone's improving, I thought like a 990 would barely have been like top 20 maybe. Or I guess maybe it's difficult to a point where even I guess
Maybe the
really good
map
players.
is really unorthodox, and it doesn't help that
Yeah.
there's like a long jack section. That
Yeah,
might have costed a few people a miss or two.
yeah. I think that's a little refreshing to see though. Like all things considered.
Yeah, but maybe we can go up a bit more now to like top 16 or something.
Sure. Here we go. I think this is where you start to really see a lot more familiar names.
Hey man, Welchi, this is you on top 16.
With second place on stage 4. I believe that's the Sephiroth
Yeah, the
Paradox
jump
song.
stream pick.
Yeah.
Yep, the jump stream stamina pick. This is supposed to be the free axe map. How is the second place as a 996?
Yeah, I thought it would
What's
have been
going
higher. I guess we
Dude.
really challenged everyone.
People might be right when they say this was overshot, but I don't know. I probably will have to wait for the upper seats, but let's focus
Yeah.
on the high seats first, being 16 to 32.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Oh.
A 991955 is only number 8 for stage 1. That's kind of what I was expecting when I saw like that 990 or 989 being like C10 for stage 1.
Yeah, I think there are a lot more 900, like above 970s for all the stages. Although the LN maps are still a big barrier for many players. Like I still see scores like Frelwalk C29's 928,538. That's a lot lower than the surrounding scores.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of expected to see like players all over the board struggle with some of these Ellen picks, just because obviously not everyone's an Ellen player. And if you can play Ellen, it's, especially with qualifiers, it's really such a, can you act it?
Yeah, though some players probably cannot handle the dense waves of noodles at the first place to even consider accuracy. Like mind blocking and trying to keep up with the density is already a struggle at the first place.
Yeah, especially with these qualifiers just being really difficult in general. I mean, I guess you could see that already with like the first 3 stages. I mean, people are still struggling, even in like the top like 20s, 30s. So I guess it makes sense to see people struggling on these Ellen picks. So I guess maybe that offsets a little bit of that difficulty that Rice players might feel with the Ellens.
But with that, let's move on to the seed
Top 8?
from 15 to 4.
Okay.
Maybe 8 or 4, I don't know.
I think 8. Let's add a little suspense.
Yeah, sure. Oh! We already have the number 1 spot, right, as we move up to...
We have 3 of
top
them.
15. 3, but 2 of them are by stereotype on stage 2. The Shield Focus Easy Hybrid, and stage 3, the Ellen Coordination map. Surprisingly low scores. 997 is usually off like top 4 for tournaments like MWC, so clearly the maps are very hard to execute, even for the top players.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
The
I see a
other-
lot of familiar names in here, so I guess this is where you really start to see how players did, and like how, I guess, higher end players felt within these qualifiers.
Yeah. The other first place is by Plana C12 on stage 8.
I don't-
Hold on.
985?
985 for
That's-
first place.
Wow.
Did we push the players a bit too much? I would say not, but this
think-
might be funny.
Honestly, I think I know this has been talked about, like kind of trying to reminisce on those old days of tournaments, and I think seeing a 985 as first place, I think that really brings back those times, and it really gives off the feeling of playing in like, I guess, a more of like a classic tournament where everyone, even the top players, struggle to act.
Maybe. And that could be a good thing, considering a lot of tournaments nowadays are just accuracy battles.
Yeah, I definitely think it's gonna favor those types of players. I think like looking at like the top 16, I see someone like Darkenchiser, seed 14, and I think something where things get a lot more difficult, especially very early on, would benefit someone like him.
But by the way, we have 3 third places as well.
Mm-hmm.
There's Astal's third place on stage 2, 996,357, and 2 third places from Mini Egg 23 on stage 5 Untech and stage 7 at the wildcard hybrid. Speaking of which,
A 988 for third place is crazy.
yeah, we don't see a lot of high scores on stage 7 yet. Surprisingly, the
I would
third place score for stage 7 is 988 compared to the first place score for stage 8 being 985. Like,
Yeah.
I thought stage 7 was supposed to be harder.
I also kind of just want to add, like, a lot of these like stage 1 scores are still really low, especially for like top 8.
Yeah. Probably, I don't know what to say. The Mappos are probably very, very pushing for everyone involved.
Yeah. I guess we can move on to top 4.
Yeah. Let's see who our top 7 to 4 are.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Hi, we do. First, we have Nat, who definitely excels a lot at the mid-game picks, having a third place on stage 4 and a first place on stage 6.
A 996.
Yep. Yeah.
Was it third
that's
place?
scary.
Like, was it third place like a 992?
I don't know.
I think it was like a 992 for third place on that stage. So that's interesting to see.
Yeah. And then we have Silicosis ET, the Tetris God.
Yeah, those scores are really well rounded. I mean, it's just the
Yeah.
hybrid, and I think the LN Tech file.
Yeah, the LN coordination and the LN tech map kind of tanked his store a little bit. I would say those are like unfortunate chokes because like that score gap is wide. I don't believe that he gets slower score on stage 5 than stage 8. Like they kind of require the same coordination skill.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess one of those just chokes, but I mean, it's qualifiers, it's a tournament, you can't expect to always do your very best. But it's
Yeah,
still
you can't
really well rounded.
You can't get away with your mistakes forever. 2 tries is enough, sorry.
Yeah, but
But moving on, we have Homu Akemi having 2 second places for themselves. The first being stage 1 at 995,655, and the second being stage 7, 989,294.
I
Other
really
stages.
I really hope the first place for stage 7 is at least a 990.
Surely.
Yeah, but you really start to see a lot of like higher end scores, and a 994 being 12th place on stage 2 is absurd to me.
Yeah. I do hope to see like more 990s towards the top 3.
Yeah.
Like there are still surprisingly a lot of 980s around the top 8 range.
Yeah. I mean, you still see some 990s, and like, I would say these 990s are so competitive. Like, you have
Yeah,
stage 4 with like a 992, 995, 996.
Yeah, the gap between 2 placements are just like a few hundred scores away. But hey, let's not forget about our seed 4 Vixile, who has for himself a second place on Allen Tech after practicing a lot of these maps in VNMC, as well as a third place on stage 8. It's honestly pretty surprising to see him going from a Rise main to an LN dominant player in this tournament, but I'm glad because this tournament will probably be a bit more LN dominant compared to other more popular Mappools nowadays.
Yeah, it's always nice to watch all these players improve over time, and I think this is where everyone's really gonna start to shine. But I think
Aside from that, yeah, we can scroll up first to our third place.
Oh,
My Mothman, hello.
wow!
He's here with 3 podium placements.
These scores are still like, you don't even see like scores where everything's top 5. You still see like fluctuations. It's crazy.
Yeah, this is the first player who gets 3 podium finishes. The first being a top 3 in both stage 1 and stage 3, and then a second place in stage 6. Though it's pretty crazy to see a 992-265 being only C12 in stage 4.
Yeah.
Everyone is so stacked, but at the same time, that it feels like the potential of the players haven't been exploited enough, judging from the 996 of the second place. It's weird.
Yeah, honestly, I think it's just more of like those, I guess, more physical picks where he falls off just a little bit. But like, you could see like even like within the mid game range, he's still so dominant. And like I said this earlier, but like a 995 not even being top 10 is just so absurd to me.
No, I do see kind of a struggle on stage 8, only getting 961.
Yeah.
Granted, the scores are very low on this stage, but a 20th placing here might indicate mid-game LN weakness. Probably something to fix as soon as possible.
Yeah, I mean, there's still a lot of time before we even get to that stage of the tournament. So, I guess by the time you get there, maybe don't trust this score completely. I think we can move on to C2.
It's going to be Ime. Surprisingly all-rounded. Instead of having a lot of podium finishes and some tankers, this player overall plays very consistently.
Yeah. I mean, the highest score being 10.
Places. Yeah. Stage 6 having a 3rd place with 99448A, and a lot of 9th places. Stage 4, Stage 5, Stage 7, Stage 8 are all 9th places. This might be a funny coincidence.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people might look at this and be like, oh, okay, they're not like the best player, but they're C2. I could probably beat them, but you also have to factor in that they're consistent. They're able to put off those results no matter what. I mean, it looks like they FC'd every single stage, and I don't think a lot of people can say that. Even like with like the top like players, I don't think they could easily like shrug off that someone FC'd everything. That's just impressive in general, especially with how hard these like pools are getting. I mean, granted, maybe that stage 8 might have not been an FC, but if anything, that might have just been an FC choke, and still, that's like really close in terms of like seed 1 for that file itself.
Yeah. Wait, what was I gonna say again? Yeah, right. This is. Do remember that this is solo score rush where we use the score attack system, making the score gap the amount of score being added in. So an all-rounded player is not going to be at a disadvantage compared to like point-based tournaments where each of their win is a bit risky and they're also prone to like losing by just a bit as well. So yeah, everyone has their place here. It's important that you utilize that score gap to your favor.
Absolutely. But I guess with that, I think a lot of people might know who Seed 1 already is.
Yeah, a lot of top players kind of aborted, but there is only one left.
And that's gonna be, drumroll,
Yup.
Pavin.
That's
Wow, that is insane, those scores.
a lot of medals. Aside from whatever happened at stage 6, this is probably like an entire miss or two because misses are so tanking they can cost you like 7,000 scores. But everything otherwise, that's like 4 first places and 3 second places. That averages out to an average weighted seed of 2.75. He really outscored everyone by a landslide. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like what we were saying with Ime, where like consistency is gonna matter so much, and this shows. I mean, maybe with Ime you have like a choke on stage 8, but with Pavin you only have a choke on stage 6, and the rest they're consistently good scores.
Yeah. And when we compare players like Pavin versus Stereotype, maybe Stereotype can win a few thousand scores on maps like stage 2 or 3, but the other stages is just going to be a massive advantage
Yeah.
for Pavin. So yeah, it just shows how dominating his stance is right
Yeah.
now in this tournament.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously we're only in like the early game, so things could fluctuate between these players depending on who they may be matched against, how comfortable they are. Like, we're starting off somewhat difficult, but that still doesn't negate the fact that maybe you aren't as comfortable with like these easier pools.
We are probably finally done with the qualifiers result. It's very funny to see all the scores being a lot lower than I expected. I usually see much more 995s and above for all stages. Even the hardest MWC qualifiers have some stacked scores, but here there's still number one that are just 985.
Yeah, I think it's a nice fresh of fresh air to kind of have, especially like with how the tournament scene is nowadays.
Yep.
But I guess with that we can switch over to our pool.
I'm so excited to finally be showcasing more of these high quality maps to you guys. We prepared this for. We have this done for like a month or two already. Like the early game Mappools are somehow just finished so early beforehand.
Yeah, it's awesome kind of looking at these pools. I mean, I haven't been here as long as maybe a lot of these other people, but I've still had fun looking over these. I mean, I had a fun time looking over qualifiers. I had a fun time looking over playoffs. There's so much in store for you guys.
Yeah.
But I guess we can move on to race 1.
Yup.
And here is your race 1.
Already a custom map made by, I don't know, whoever's talking right now.
Yours truly.
Yup. This is going to be Fasten Your Seatbelt, song by F777, mapped by me and replayed by Epicman2. This map is pretty tricky, to say the least.
Yeah, I think it kind of goes without saying. I mean, obviously this is your speed pick, but I think with that in mind, I mean, these speed picks, I think, tend to be just difficult in general. Even in early game, it's just a challenge of balancing, like, can you play all of these and act them?
Yeah. This map is 285 BPM streams. The song is 190 BPM and the streams are 1.6, so 285 is the BPM of the stream. This part might be a bit mind-blockable. It repeats a lot and there's a clear emphasis on either the inner two columns or the outer two columns.
Yeah, the inner ones. I think these patterns are really fun in general. I mean, especially at like a bit of a lower speed, you have a lot less to kind of stress about.
We have a little break here, just for the people who may be a bit tired after that streamy section.
Yeah, and then you get right back into these streams. I wouldn't say this is too stamina intensive. It's just more really, are you able to play these streams?
Yeah. The streams kind of also switch from 1.6 to 1.4 in a pretty rapid manner, so a bit of a transition challenge here and there.
Yeah, it's kind of just one of those things that it's a lot more easier to kind of put focus on within like these earlier pools. And it's definitely going to add a little bit of like an accuracy challenge. I would say, at least for me, I find like these snap changes to be a bit difficult at times.
Indeed.
But that concludes your first pick.
Yep. The second one will be kind of a tournament debut. Here's a new name for the tournament mapping scene, Snowy, with Katagiri's Cherry. She drew this map's own background too, which is pretty silly to see. Her butterfly.
I think it adds a lot of charm to it.
Yep, cute map, cute song.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are familiar with this song. I think most people are familiar with the Ellen Density pick. I don't know if it's been featured in a tournament before. I think there's another version of this song that I might be remembering.
Yeah. Halato's Cherry is featured in, I believe, Quad 2023.
Okay.
But this is going to be a jump stream rendition. This clocks in at 215.3 BPM because it's at 1.05. These patterns are pretty middle ground. Like, I remember before it's much more anchory and dense, but the patterns have since been nerfed to be more player friendly. You do see somewhat frequent doubles, but the anchors are not as long. Like before, there were 7-note doubles. That's hell. We don't really like that.
You also have like a few trills like here and there, and you also have like a lot of direction with this, which I think is also gonna help with playing this. At least I feel like having a sense of direction, it adds a little bit of smoothness to the file itself.
Yeah, it just feels more intuitive when the patterns have directions. Like it guides you to follow it exactly as how it looks, how it flows, etc. Like, it's generally a pretty intuitive map in general.
Yeah, I mean, you also have these trills, which I think could be very hard, not because the trills themselves might be hard, especially because of the speed, but also because of this speed being a lot slower. It might trip some players up just a little bit, but it's not as bad of like maybe 190 trills or 180 trills.
Yeah, I do want to say that the song is fairly repetitive. Like, what? Congratulations, do be prepared for that long hella trove.
Yeah, I mean, the song itself is vibey. The file itself is just fun to execute just because of how flowy it is. And I wouldn't say it's too techy, at least in terms of like jump stream. I mean, obviously you have like these trills, but I don't think they're as bad, especially because they're not as fast as maybe like something you'd see later on, or something like stage 5.
Yeah, this is where your stamina is truly dead and you still have to push for a few more seconds. Like, the song isn't that long, but it just feels so draining because it's continuous. There's almost no breaks.
Yeah. But that does conclude your second pick.
Yep. And for our third pick, this one is a pooled map that I'm pretty proud of. It's so clean and it fits the purpose perfectly. This is going to be Kumuru Kanekagami no Kie o Fukumite, mapped by Marvelous Cosmos. This song is made by Chrono Eyes. And yeah, this is going to be a somewhat raw skill based Jackie wildcard.
Yeah,
As you can see there. Oh, go on.
I would say maybe not, I guess, a conventional pick in terms of like maybe tournaments nowadays where you don't really see too much of like a Jack pick. While this isn't a clear Jack pick, obviously, there's still, I guess, a little bit of emphasis on that.
Yeah, the emphasis on Jack is pretty clear, but there are also a lot of outlier patterns as well that many players may consider the harder part of the map because it's inconsistent. This pattern might be a bit field control oriented because these are like Omega slow hand sweeps with speed checks and bursts.
Yeah, and I would say like the transition from going into like I guess like a Jackie motion out of that or going into a Jackie motion from like these like bursts, these streams, it also adds just another layer of difficulty, and especially tripping players up with accuracy.
This map is very carefully structured. It's consistent and it's also very fun to play, so I enjoyed this map a lot, like really. I think this might as well be the easiest to act map, although the outlier, the non-Jack patterns may still pose like a risk of getting bad judgments or even a miss for those who are not physically apt.
Yeah, it's really just one of those picks where like maybe high-end players opt in to choose something like this, but I think if maybe you're on like the lower end of statistics, you might want to think carefully before choosing something like this.
Yeah. And let's continue to our fourth pick. Another mixed map. Wait, hold on. We do not have the right map. Can we exit this window for a little bit and pause the music? Okay, thing is this is the actual correct map. Like there is technically nothing wrong with it, but just a bit earlier we replaced the audio because the tuner for this song does not like their original Kayuki tunes to be used in Osu, so we have to replace the audio. So please stand by for around 2 minutes while we get this fixed. Okay, hello, we got it fixed. This is going to be Kyofu all back, but the actual allowed to be used cover by Shirakami Fubuki. This map is made by Mike Lee. This is a pretty old map, actually. I think this has been existing since like 2022.
This is
And this is,
a more dumpy pick.
yeah, it's like a tacky, dumpy pick. Okay, I don't know why would it replace like that. Probably like the offset.
Yeah, I was gonna say it looks correct, but it also looks off. But I guess just ignore that for now. I mean, you get the general basis of the file. A bit bursty.
A lot of burst and weird tacky patterns. Although they were still somewhat flowy, honestly. Like, usually with tech picks, the conventional abrasive ones, you see like mini jacks and like generally more anchory patterns. This one is more biased towards burst in short intervals. Indeed, with any tech pick, there's still that stop and go motion.
Yeah, I would say this is probably going to be one of the harder rice picks to add, especially if you're not as comfortable with something like Rice 1, where it's a lot of like speed. Obviously, you don't have like the same speed motion. It definitely plays differently, but I think for some players, especially with like dump focused files, they might have a harder time following the pattern or just having a bit of a harder time acting these patterns. Just especially like Lot said, how it's very stop and go.
Yeah, it's a pretty short map, though it's not that sweet. Like usually I would say like easy to act picks and short ones, short and sweet, but this one clearly is not that easy to hack.
Yeah. But that does conclude our dumpy pick. And I think we can move on to Rice 5.
Yup. Rice 5 is going to be... This one's a classic. You guys probably know Vortex in one way or another.
Yeah.
He's a legendary mapper, and he's here for Two-Headed Zero, song by Kaiten Dentai, and this is going to be a slightly edited version with OD8 and less intrusive LNs.
Yeah, you can kind of already hear it from the song, but like, and I mean, you even see it a little bit already, but like, there are some grace notes in here, some burst.
Yeah. This, within the Mappool, is the streamy mixed fit kinda. It's like more rigid in its parting in a way that it's not weird fluxy like Rice 4, but not jacky like Rice 3. It's more streamy in general.
And also techy, especially like with those grace notes.
Yeah.
And it's probably another one of those picks like Rice 4 where you might not want to choose this, not because it's hard or anything, but just because of how difficult it might be to act. And especially with these trickier patterns, although it is like slower, I would say in a way, maybe slightly reminiscent of stage 1, where you have like these jacks and these like other tech patterns.
Yeah. This pick is more broken streamy, so there's kind of like a more direct attack on your physicality.
Yeah, especially like these trills right here, and like along with these spurs, and it's, I guess it's also kind of stop and go, like the previous pick, but in a very different way.
Yeah.
I would say this is probably just a really big nerf control file. You don't have like as much going on as maybe say like Rice 2, but you also don't have like too little going on. It's very just like, can you handle your nerves in such a situation, especially with these patterns, which albeit aren't that complicated, but they're still slightly complicated.
Yeah, this ending kind of spiked a lot. That final anchory stream pattern might trip a few players up.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that concludes the rice pool, and we'll be moving on to LN1. Okay, I do not know if any of you have my mapping subscribers on. You probably saw me uploading this like 3 months ago.
I do.
Yeah. But this is actually a custom for this tournament. This is going to be your coordination release focused pick as with any typical LN1s.
I think this song might be a bit familiar for some people. I don't exactly remember where, but I feel like I've heard this before.
This clocks in at 174 BPM. It's pretty slow, but that's always a good BPM for introductory semi-timing hell picks.
Yeah, you can already see here. I mean, you have like these releases, and then you have like you kind of have a lot going on, but at the same time, you don't really have that much going on. Like, you have all these LNs, but it's not like where it's like pure 1/4 LNs.
Yeah. There are like two kinds of releases that I plan for this map. There's like the continuous one-handed staggered 1/4, and then the one where there's a longer LN that ends at the same time with another 1/4 LN on the same hand. Like, these, I think, are the two most prominent chord release patterns in this map. I do want to mention that some of these build-ups are a bit mind-blockable because it's pretty repetitive. This part, by the way, in particular, is very release-heavy. Like, you can see the patterning is getting more complex, just a little bit.
Mm-hmm. And also, not to mention, like we said earlier, it is a slower pick, so you have to really juggle with like your mentality, not to play too fast, but don't play too slowly. And at the same time, you have to focus on each of these releases, but do not focus too hard on them, or else you start to overthink them. And like you mentioned, you might even mind block some of these patterns just because of how much there is going on and how much you might be focused on trying to achieve a really high score, especially like in these tighter matches.
Yeah, that's it for our LN1 pick. It's a bit repetitive, like the two courses are literally the same, but I think it adds into the consistency and nerve factor of this map because there's like a kind of continuous aspect to these patterns.
Definitely. But with all of that said, we can move on to LN2.
We play the Loggery 61. Loggery 61 is actually Logan, by the way.
Is it really?
Yeah, I asked him to make a few replays for the fancies. Yeah, this is going to be your LN density. This map is a bit close to LN1's BPM. It's 168.
Yeah, but this time you don't get those kind of breaks in between. This time it is going to be those like 1/4 patterns.
Yeah.
Probably a bit of a challenge for some players. I would say especially for those who might be getting into LN. But I think that goes for every LN pick. But I would say especially slower density like this, where it's not too fast, it might be a struggle to act, especially with like how much more you have to focus on it compared to something that might be like around the 190, the 180, the 200.
Yeah, like with something like Toph's 8-bit Voyager from MWC23, it's more on like the physical side of things, but the LN's skill testing is also not as prominent. This one just throws you with these walls of dense LNs, which might be also pretty coordination heavy because you have to hold a lot of these LNs at a pretty low BPM, which might be awkward.
Yeah, I definitely see this being very awkward. And I feel like it's really going to be a choice between, do I ban something like LN1 or do I ban something like LN2? And that's not to mention any other picks that might also just be one of those ban things. It's really just a matter of, can you play these slower end LNs?
Yeah. I would say this is probably the easiest to act LNs if you are really up to the challenge. But aside from that, those who are still a bit weak at coordination, they find this the most challenging to just execute in general. And there goes Hypnotizer. It's such a cool song. I love the song. Seriously. I need to make a spread out of this, but that's for another day. For now, let us move on to LN3. Yet another custom, this time by your ever familiar LN Tech mapper Mikely. This is going to be there for you and me. This is a bit of an introductory map, so it's not going to be as heavily techy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess that's
So
one
you
thing.
see this.
Go on.
Yeah. You see, this map is a bit more focused on general slower shoots. This clocks in at 120 BPM only, so it's like very slow. Therefore, the patterns make up for it by being pretty tricky. Like you see these shoots, they're coordination heavy in a different way from LN1 or LN2. Like it's just very quick.
Yeah, I was gonna mention that. Like these shields, especially like some of them where you're going into a shield out of it, releasing one LN while at the same time hitting another LN to kind of continue that flow.
Yeah, not to mention we have an addition of these tighter reverse shoots and some quick LN releases on one hand. Like these are probably the main act killers for this map.
Yeah, and I think one thing too is like maybe unlike LN1, the releases here aren't as bad, at least so far.
It's not as release heavy as like the normal Minecraft LN Tech maps, but as with any introductory maps, we need to find like a tamer alternative, and this one is such an ideal way to represent a gap in the LN map pool. Like I know there's a lot of your early game LN map pools have the LN3 pick be way more conventional and close to the BPM of the first two LN picks, but this one is just a completely different genre, and I'm glad it's executed like this.
Yeah, especially like going off into playoffs. I mean, you have like a lot of players who just got out of qualifiers who probably struggled a lot, and being able to go into something like this, which is so much more calming, a lot slower, and perhaps maybe even a little bit more vibey as compared to like a lot of these faster songs. I think it is like a nice way to kind of start off, especially with how hard this tournament is gonna get eventually.
Yeah, this ending is a bit brutal. Like there are a lot more like light timing hell-esque patterns. This is probably where I would say that difficulty kind of peaked.
Yeah, and then you do get this ending, which still is really hard to execute, even like if it's not as maybe physically demanding.
Yeah, that is going to be it for LN3.
And that also concludes our LN picks. And with that, we can go into our first hybrid, which is going to be Moo.
Hello, I know this guy has been lurking in the tournament server and probably waiting in this chat. Yup, he does have a map featured in this tournament, and his first appearance is going to be Moo here. This is a deleted stat, so you cannot search it up, but I still keep it for some reason, and the Insane Diff just coincidentally fits this kind of hybrid we were looking for a lot. This is going to be the consistency, like, generic minute tiebreaker hybrid.
Yeah, I would say this plays very differently from what you might expect with like these types of hybrids. I would say it's very mixed, especially for like a bit of like an early game hybrid. I would say usually when we get into like these early game hybrids, there isn't really a clear focus on keeping everything mixed, but this one really makes sure to keep everything nice, close together.
Yeah, the first section is very streamy and fast. A lot of these semi-density environments. It's kind of like Alan's speed. It's pretty good to see because it's not yet represented in the 3 Alan picks. But with that section ending, we have this slower part, which is going to be a lot more mixed in comparison. With these trills and then 1/6 bursts and a few jacks as well.
Yeah, I would say this hybrid, it plays very nicely, and if you're more, I guess, akin to tournament files, I feel like this might be one of those picks that you might go for, just because, in a way, it kind of represents home, where you're more used to these types of picks, especially like within like later rounds in tournaments. I feel like this really represents that a lot more, and especially in an early game setting, I feel like that might just favor some players just a little bit more, especially those with that experience.
Yeah. This last part may be a trickier part compared to the first or second part. It's going to be focused more on these direct jacks mixed with two-handed trills.
Yeah, and it kind of brings that stop and go motion that maybe some players might be akin to with like other Ellens and hybrids. I would say they're more prominent within like techie hybrids where it's stop and go motions. You kind of get like a mini preview of that in here.
Yeah, though we do actually have a dedicated tech hybrid slot.
I think that's our second hybrid, right?
Might be tough. Yeah, this might be tough. This is so tough!
I remember
This is going
seeing
to be
this.
Livium. This is Livium's first custom for the tournament. Skrillex Voltage.
Yeah, this definitely lives up to tech, and especially with a Livium file.
If L3 isn't techy enough, if you were disappointed by the lack of true tech in L3, this is for you.
Yeah.
Yours truly.
Yeah, these bursts are so brutal, especially for like an early game pick. And not to forget, I mean, you have these staggered releases as well.
Yeah, and there's Rice mixed in with Ellens, like they alternate very fast. Like you cannot have a breather if you're like a Rice only or Ellen only player.
Mm-hmm.
I think the vocal dumping technique here is also very unorthodox. Like the motion isn't smooth like in Kyofu All Back, so this map is a lot more awkward to execute.
Yeah, not to forget, you also have like those LN that you hold, and then you have like those 3-note I guess burst. So that also just adds another difficulty factor. Like this is exactly what I'm talking about. Obviously, it's not as difficult right here since it's not as intense. But when we do get into those more intense parts, it can be so hard to execute at times.
Yeah, somewhat like a pseudo coordination movement. Not sure how to describe it properly, but you get my idea, hopefully. Yeah, this is so tough.
What a funny pick.
But surely it's not as tough as the next hybrid pick.
Yeah.
There are 5 Rices, but we have 3 Ellens. You thought we only have 2 hybrids. No, we have 3. This is going to be another Mike Lee custom. Genso no Satellite, song by Butao Tomei.
Yeah, this is probably a bit of a surprise for most people. They probably thought, okay, probably 3 LNs, 3 hybrids. There's only 5 Rice, like you said. But we are having another hybrid. And this one's going to be, I would say, more kind of speedy, more bursty.
Yes, indeed. This pick is noted as the speedy hybrid. And the BPM truly represents this. It's 230 BPM. a lot of 1/4 broken streams mixed with 1/5 and occasionally even 1/6 burst. And the LN pirates are also very speedy with these tight reverse shields and generally quick cut gaps.
Yeah, it definitely plays very differently compared to like your first two hybrids. And upon looking at this at first look, you might think, okay, this looks like a combo of the first and second hybrid, but I can assure you this plays very, very differently, and you kind of have to go in this with like a completely different mindset.
Yeah, the three hybrids are extremely distinct from each other. I guess it just increases the quality of the map in terms of contrast, but yeah.
Yeah, it
I would
has
say
another layer of strategy.
this map might be a bit on the harder side, by the way. It's intentional, but I'm just saying it here if you are not aware.
It's also a bit of a like shorter pick, I think, so it's not as bad to execute, but it can still be very tricky, especially with like the types of patterns that we see here, like these LNs and even these trills at times.
Yeah, this map is 2 minutes and 20 seconds. I think the hybrids so far are not that long, they're all very short, but whether they're sweet or not depends on your skill set. This one in particular, I think is much more heavy in terms of raw skill and speed.
Yeah, definitely. But you get that little burst at the end, so don't let go just yet.
Yep. Do not be fooled.
But with all of
Okay,
that,
let us pull the tiebreaker copy pasta.
oh boy.
Yep, let's move on to the first tiebreaker of the entire tournament. This is a cut version of console's overclock edition of 1, 2, 3, 4. Map made by yours truly.
Yeah, I mean, not really too much to say in this beginning part. I mean, you see how simple it is.
Oh yeah, while this commentary is being played, I want to give a shout out to Arashim for making the background. Yes, we will have proper GFX for each of the tiebreakers, so do look out for the more artistic sides of the tournament.
Yeah, I would say definitely do make sure to like look into these, because I mean, you guys saw qualifier GFX and they are beautiful.
Yeah. Anyways, after these semi-tech LNs, we firstly move on to this fairly transitiony section. Pretty stop and go, mainly focused on rice bursts, but there are still some LNs mixed in as well. The mini jacks are also being slowly introduced here. Some graces are also mixed in as well. And we move on to the first card section, I'd say. This is a bit of like a price-based techie hybrid section.
Yeah, and this mini jacks are gonna be so brutal, especially if you go into tiebreaker and you have all those nerves. It's just gonna be so much hard to execute, especially with like I think a triple jack we saw earlier.
Yeah, this is 178 BPM. The mini jacks at this speed might be very like nerve-wracking.
Yeah, I
mean,
mean,
we have this coordination section.
yeah, it's not like continuously fast, but there's still a lot of like trickiness that's added onto this, especially like with early game, where you can't really push that difficulty too much without it feeling too, I guess, straining, especially for like a lot of lower end players. But you get this section right here.
Yeah, it's very fast LN density. Remember, this is 172 BPM. LN2 of this Mappool is 168, so this is a pretty proper step up.
Yeah, it's also such like a vibey song in general, so you might not get like the most intense feeling, but I think if you do have to play this, you at least get like a lot of, I guess, excitement in a way. A very, I guess, distinct feeling than many people might feel with tiebreakers. But again, like we said, it's early game.
Now we have this much more LN bias section. There are more direct releases, although we cannot ignore this still pretty ricey hybrid section. This basically repeating one of the previous sections. But here we go. This is going to be your more LN focused section. There are some shields, so you'll be pretty careful. And yeah, some rice bursts as well.
Yeah, and this kind of like change in like rhythm also like adds another layer of complexity, like just having to switch between like how fast you go, how slow, making sure you're in check with your releases. It adds like a lot more of difficulty.
Yeah. It also transitions a lot as well, so
yeah.
it really is anti-autopilot.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tiebreaker. You shouldn't be autopiloting this in the first place.
Yeah, but out of the end part, you have this very heavy rice part. A lot more 1/6 the burst screams, I don't know, and 1/4 mini jacks of all kinds.
Yeah, those mini jacks are going to be brutal, especially with, like under so much nerves. I mean, not to mention, they're one-handed trills as well. Not trills, mini jacks.
0. The Owens make a 0. That's so funny, haha, I know.
I love the artistic representation in
Yep.
my files.
Yeah, this tiebreaker is pretty speedy for a playoffs tiebreaker. This is playoffs, and it's already so hard. So yeah, just be prepared. I know the 33rd to 96th seed players are going to battle against each other for a single elimination playoff. So yeah, this tiebreaker might be played a lot as well because of the score attack system. So just be very prepared.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm excited to see how these matches go, and I'm really excited to see how people feel about these pools, because I think there's something magical with all these pools. I mean, I think qualifiers really set the mood up for what to really expect, and I think this does a really good job following that as well.
Yeah, really hope you enjoy this first like bracket map pool.
Yeah, this is like the first of like 6, 7 pools, 8. I don't even know how many pools we have.
We have 8 map pools. Playoffs is 1, and then round of 32 to grand finals is 6, but we do have a round 64, so that's 1 more. So that's 6 plus 1 plus 1 equals 8.
Yeah, first of 8 pools. That's crazy. And we're only just getting started.
Yeah, this is going to be a long journey. I hope you all enjoy.
Yeah, there's so much work going on behind the scenes. Hopefully everyone does have a good time. Hopefully we have some really exciting matches. Even though it's just playoffs, I mean, things can get excited.
Well, it's getting late already. This stream has been running for a solid hour and 13 minutes. Very surprisingly fast for such a big list of qualifying players and a Mappool that's also pretty wide.
Yeah, especially for playoffs, this is a pretty big pool.
Well, what can I say? Thank you everyone for tuning in for today's stream.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
To tune in. Yeah. Do tune in the streams of the actual matches as well and enjoy the competition that's finally shining after a lot of waiting since signups have opened.
Oh yeah.
Closed.
Yeah, but I've been your commentator and streamers now, and I'll be signing out.
Yep, and this is your commentator and host and Mappool Love. Goodbye, everyone.